Your Ram's transmission just hit 100,000 miles and everyone's telling you it's living on borrowed time. Mechanics, forums, even your buddy who claims he knows trucks. They're all wrong. I've worked on Dodge transmissions for over 15 years, and the biggest threat to your Ram isn't the transmission itself. It's the myths that convince owners to make expensive mistakes. From unnecessary flushes that destroy perfectly good transmissions to dealership lies that cost thousands. These myths separate Ram owners who get 300,000 miles from those replacing transmissions at 120,000. In this video, I'm breaking down the 10 biggest transmission myths that cost Ram owners serious money. Stick around because myth number 2 is the one that sends more Rams to the junkyard than any actual mechanical failure. Let's dive in. Myth number 10. You need a transmission flush every 30,000 miles. Walk into most quick lube shops with your Ram and they'll push a transmission flush. The machine hooks up, old fluid comes out, new fluid goes in. Sounds great, right? Here's the problem. That flush can kill your transmission. Ram's 68 RFE and 8-speed automatics weren't designed for high-pressure flushes. These transmissions have clutch packs that wear over time. Tiny metal particles from normal wear settle in the pan. They're harmless sitting there. A flush kicks those particles into circulation. They jam solenoids, clog valve bodies, and scratch clutch surfaces. I've seen perfectly healthy transmissions start slipping within 5,000 miles of a flush. The correct service is a drain and fill. You drop the pan, replace the filter, clean the magnet, and refill with fresh fluid. This removes about 50% of the old fluid without disturbing settled debris. A drain and fill costs $150 to $250. A flush costs $200 to $300. Then 10,000 miles later, you're looking at a $3,500 transmission rebuild because the flush destroyed what was working fine. Ram recommends drain and fill service, not flushes. Stick with what the engineers designed. Myth number 9. Transmission fluid is lifetime and never needs changing. This myth destroyed more Ram transmissions than anything else. Dodge marketed certain models with lifetime transmission fluid. That claim assumes perfect conditions. Highway driving, moderate temperatures, no towing, and engines that reach full operating temperature every trip. Your Ram doesn't live in perfect conditions. You tow, you idle, you drive in stop and go traffic. Transmission fluid breaks down. Heat degrades the friction modifiers. Moisture contamination lowers the boiling point. Carbon particles clog filters. The 68 RFE transmission in 2007 to 2018. Rams needs fluid changed every 60,000 miles. The 8-speed in 2019 and newer models need service every 120,000 miles under normal use. Cut that in half if you tow regularly. I've rebuilt 68 RFE transmissions at 100,000 miles that followed Dodge's lifetime fluid claim. The fluid looked like coffee, clutches were burned, valve body was scored. Rams with fluid changed every 60,000 miles regularly hit 250,000 to 300,000 miles on original transmissions. A fluid service costs $200 to $300. A transmission rebuild costs $3,000 to $5,000. Change the fluid or pay for the rebuild. Your choice. Myth number 8. If you can't hurt a Ram transmission by towing without a tuner. Ram trucks are built to tow. Hook up a trailer and go, right? Not quite. Your factory transmission tuning prioritizes fuel economy and emissions compliance. It doesn't prioritize protecting the transmission under sustained load. When towing heavy, transmission temperatures climb fast. Factory tuning holds gears longer to avoid constant shifting. That keeps torque converter locked under load. Heat builds up, clutches slip, fluid breaks down faster. Over time, this destroys the transmission. A good tuner adjusts shift points and torque converter lockup for towing. It commands earlier shifts to keep RPMs lower. It unlocks the converter when heat builds. Transmission temperatures drop 30 to 50 degrees. That difference extends transmission life dramatically. Here's the deal. A quality tuner costs $400 to $600. Installing a transmission cooler adds another $300 to $500. Compare that to the $4,000 transmission rebuild you'll need at 120,000 miles from heat damage. Towing without proper transmission protection isn't tough. It's expensive. Protect your investment before the damage happens. Myth number 7. Check engine lights for transmission issues can wait. Your dash lights up with a check engine light. You scan it and see a transmission code. P0700, P0750. Something transmission related. The truck still drives fine, so you figure it can wait. Wrong. Transmission codes don't show up for fun. They indicate the computer detected something outside normal parameters: a slipping clutch, a stuck solenoid, incorrect pressure, or electrical issues. Ignoring these codes lets small problems become big failures. A solenoid that's sticking intermittently will eventually stick permanently. That changes shift patterns and damages clutches. A pressure issue that's borderline today becomes a complete failure tomorrow. Here's what I see constantly. Owner ignores a P0750 code for 5,000 miles. Transmission starts slipping. By the time they bring it in, clutches are fried and the valve body is damaged. What could have been a $400 solenoid replacement is now a $3,500 rebuild. Ram's transmission computer monitors dozens of sensors. When it throws a code, something's wrong. Address codes immediately. Scan it, research what the code means, and fix the problem. A $30 code reader and a few hundred in parts beats a multi-$1,000 rebuild every time. Myth number 6. Aftermarket transmission fluid works just as well as Mopar. You're at the parts store looking at transmission fluid. Mopar ATF Plus 4 is $12 per quart. The generic brand next to it is $6 per quart. Both say they're compatible with Dodge transmissions. You save $40 and walk out with the cheap stuff. Big mistake. Ram transmissions are engineered around specific fluid properties. A TF Plus 4 has friction modifiers, anti-wear additives, and viscosity characteristics that match what Ram designed. Generic fluids meet minimum specs. They don't match the exact formulation. The friction modifiers are different. Clutch engagement feels different. Some Ram owners report harsh shifts after switching to aftermarket fluid. Others see slipping within 20,000 miles. The worst cases end up with complete transmission failure from clutch damage. I've torn down transmissions filled with wrong fluid. The clutches show glazing and burning. The valve body shows varnish buildup. These are symptoms of incompatible fluid chemistry. Using Mopar ATF Plus 4 costs about $100 for a complete fill on most Rams. Using generic fluid saves maybe $40. When that generic fluid causes slipping and you're facing a $3,500 rebuild, you'll wish you spent the extra $40. Don't gamble with your transmission over pocket change. Use the fluid Ram engineers specified. Myth number 5. Ram transmissions can't handle big power. You want more horsepower from your Ram. Maybe a tuner, cold air intake, or exhaust. Someone tells you the transmission will explode if you add power. That's not exactly true. Stock Ram transmissions can handle moderate power increases. The 68 RFE is good for about 450 to 500 horsepower and 900 foot-pounds of torque with proper tuning. The 8-speed handles similar numbers. Problems start when you add power without adjusting transmission behavior. Factory shift points and converter lockup don't account for extra torque. Clutches slip under increased load. That creates heat and wear. Here's the solution. If you're adding significant power, upgrade 3 things. First, add a transmission cooler. Keeps fluid temperature safe even under heavy load. Second, install a tuner with transmission control. Adjust shift firmness and timing for increased power. Third, if you're going beyond 500 horsepower, upgrade the Torque converter. A good transmission cooler costs $300 to $500. A tuner runs $400 to $600. An upgraded converter is $800 to $1,200 installed. For $1,500 to $2,000, you've got a transmission that handles 550 to 600 horsepower reliably. Skip these upgrades and add big power. You're rebuilding the transmission in 20,000 miles. That costs $4,000 to $6,000. Support the transmission before you add the power, not after it fails. Myth number 4. Manual shifting mode damages the transmission. Your Ram has manual shift mode. You can control gear selection using paddle shifters or the gear selector. Some owners think using manual mode wears out the transmission. They believe the computer knows best and you should always leave it in drive. Not true. Manual mode gives you control over shift timing. This is incredibly useful for towing, engine braking on hills, or preventing constant hunting between gears. The transmission doesn't care whether you or the computer commanded the shift. The same clutches engage either way. Using manual mode correctly actually reduces transmission wear in certain situations. When towing up a long grade, selecting a lower gear keeps the converter locked and RPMs in the power band. This prevents the transmission from constantly shifting between gears hunting for the right ratio. That reduces clutch cycles and heat. Descending steep hills, downshifting provides engine braking. This keeps your brakes from overheating and eliminates the need for constant brake application. The transmission handles it fine. Here's the thing, manual mode won't hurt your transmission. Ignorant use of manual mode can. Don't downshift at highway speeds into first gear. Don't hold gears to redline repeatedly. Use it intelligently, and it's a tool that protects the transmission. Avoid it because of myths and you're missing out on a feature that extends transmission life. Myth number 3. Transmission temperature doesn't matter unless the warning light comes on. Your Ram's transmission has a temperature sensor. Most don't display actual temperature to the driver. You might have a transmission temp warning light that illuminates when things get dangerously hot. Some owners think if the light isn't on, temperature is fine. Here's the reality. By the time that warning light comes on, you've already damaged the transmission. Ram's warning threshold is around 260 to 280 degrees Fahrenheit. At those temperatures, transmission fluid breaks down rapidly. Clutches start slipping. Seals deteriorate. Damage is already happening. Optimal transmission operating temperature is 175 to 200 degrees. Anything above 220 degrees accelerates wear. Above 240 degrees, you're causing permanent damage every minute. Most Ram owners have no idea what temperature their transmission runs. They tow heavy loads, sit in traffic, or drive aggressively without monitoring. The transmission cooks silently until the warning light appears. Smart Ram owners install a transmission temp gauge. You can get a basic gauge that taps into the existing sensor for $50 to $100. Higher-end options with digital displays run $150 to $300. Once you're monitoring temperature, you can take action before damage occurs. If temps climb above 220, you pull over and let it cool. You downshift to lower gears for better cooling. You add a transmission cooler if you're consistently running hot. A $200 gauge and a $400 cooler prevent a $4,000 rebuild. Temperature matters long before the warning light tells you there's a problem. Myth number 2. A shudder or vibration when shifting means you need a new transmission. This is the myth that costs Ram owners the most money. You feel a shudder or vibration during shifts, especially between first and second gear or when the torquey converter locks up. You take it to a dealership. They tell you the transmission is failing and quote $5,000 for a replacement. Here's the truth. Most shift shudder in Ram transmissions isn't mechanical failure. It's contaminated fluid or a worn torque converter clutch. The fix is simple and cheap. Ram issued a technical service bulletin for shift shudder. The solution is a fluid exchange and friction modifier additive. The service costs $200 to $400. It solves the problem in most cases. I've seen countless Ram owners spend $5,000 on transmission replacements when $300 in fluid service would have fixed it. Dealerships make more money on replacements than fluid service. They're incentivized to recommend the expensive fix. Before you authorize transmission replacement for shudder, try the fluid service. If the shudder persists after fresh fluid and additives, then investigate further. But most times the shudder disappears completely. Don't let a dealership convince you need a $5,000 repair when a $300 service fixes it. Get a second opinion from an independent transmission shop. They'll be honest because they make money on rebuilds, not unnecessary replacements. Myth number 1. Ram transmissions are unreliable and won't last. This is the biggest myth and it's completely wrong. Ram transmissions get a bad reputation from owners who neglect maintenance or abuse them. When maintained correctly, these transmissions easily reach 300,000 miles. The 68 RFE in 2007 to 2018 Rams is actually a strong transmission. It handles high torque loads, responds well to tuning, and can be rebuilt affordably when needed. The complaints come from owners who never changed fluid, towed without transmission coolers, or ignored warning signs until catastrophic failure. The 8-speed in 2019 and newer Rams is even better. It's smoother, more efficient, and has fewer reported issues than the 6.8 RFE. Most complaints involve early production units from 2019 to 2020. Later models have refined tuning and updated parts. Here's what I've learned in 15 years working on these transmissions. Rams that follow proper maintenance schedules rarely have transmission problems. Change fluid every 60,000 miles on the 68 RFE and 120,000 on the 8-speed. Add a transmission cooler if you tow regularly. Address codes and symptoms immediately rather than ignoring them. Use correct fluid. Monitor temperature. These simple steps make the difference between a transmission that fails at 120,000 miles and one still shifting smoothly at 300,000 miles. Your Ram's transmission isn't unreliable. Owners who believe myths and skip maintenance are unreliable. The transmission will last as long as you're willing to take care of it. These 10 myths cost Ram owners thousands in unnecessary repairs and premature transmission failures. From flushes that destroy healthy transmissions to dealership lies about shutter problems. Knowing the truth protects your wallet and your truck. Your Ram's transmission was built to last. It's engineered for high torque, towing, and hundreds of thousands of miles. The difference between transmission failure at 100,000 miles and smooth operation at 300,000 isn't luck, it's knowledge. Change fluid regularly using the correct type. Monitor temperature and add cooling when needed. Address codes immediately. Use proper towing practices. These habits prevent 95% of transmission problems Ram owners face. Don't let myths convince you to make expensive mistakes. Your transmission doesn't need flushes, lifetime fluid, or premature replacement. It needs informed ownership and basic maintenance. That's the secret mechanics don't want you knowing, because educated Ram owners don't pay for unnecessary repairs.